Over the past 50 years, while most of us have been busy with the struggles of day-to-day living, a beast has been growing among us. This beast, international in scope, with multiple heads, crowns and horns, has evolved into a monster whose tentacles now reach every nation, city and town. There is no place left upon this earth free from its impositions and influence. It is a beast which has grown up on the backs of the multinational corporations, a soulless entity pushing forward this latest version of globalisation. Corporate cartels joined together to promote a fascistic global corporatocracy. Using all forms of technology, some known and some unknown, they are preparing humanity for the next phase of their sinister agenda. Time is now running out. This is our last hour. Their goal is the total enslavement of humanity, with the absolute control over all land, sea and resources. Our common law freedoms, inalienable rights, granted by God, are now being undermined by a mighty corporate power determined to crush the will of independent humanity, to enslave and confuse each one of us as they loot what little wealth we have left. Previous generations who built the societies, cities and nations we live in today toiled and sacrificed with the belief they were building a better future for each new generation. They fought for the Magna Carta, the Constitution of the Republic of America. They sacrificed their lives to hold on to their common law rights over the ambitions of fascistic enemies determined to break them under the whip of organized tyranny.
The first truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe. If the people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself, that, in its essence, is fascism. Ownership of government by an individual, by a group, or by any other controlling private power. The second truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe. If its business system does not provide employment and produce and distribute goods in such a way as to sustain an acceptable standard of living.
Today, our common law rights are being trampled upon by the jackboots of progressive totalitarianism, with armies of henchmen working for the interlocking corporate cartels, pushing for total control and subordination of the whole human race.
This is an incredible time to be on this planet. It's a time when a true revolution is happening. I think in many respects we're at a time in history that rivals the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution, and the time when we realized that the world was not flat and that the sun did not revolve around this planet, we revolved around the sun. At times like these, there are amazing, huge changes. And it's important for people to be prepared and to understand that that's coming. And I think we're at one of those times right now. Incredible experience for me. I learned so much from these indigenous people. And then I became an economic hitman. And the story of that and how that transformation happened is described in the books Confessions of an Economic Hitman and The Secret History of the American Empire. But suffice it to say that we economic hitmen have in the last few decades created the world's first truly global empire. And it's the first empire that's been created primarily without the military, through economics. We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations, but do not help the majority of the people at all, because these people are too poor to buy electricity or have cars. They don't have the skills to get jobs in industrial parks. And yet they, the whole country, is left holding a huge debt. And it's such a huge debt they can't possibly repay it. So at some point, the economic hitmen go back and say, you owe us a lot of money, you can't repay your debts, so give us a pound of flesh. Sell your oil real cheap to our oil companies. Vote with us on the next critical United Nations vote, or send troops in support of ours to someplace in the world, like Iraq. And in that way, we've created this empire. On the few occasions when we economic hitmen fail, as I described in Secret History of the American Empire, what happened to me with Jaime Roldos, the president of Panama, and president of Ecuador, and Omar Torrijos, the president of Panama, I failed with both of these men. I was not able to corrupt them. In this corruption, incidentally, my job, everything I did was legal. It shouldn't be, but the forms of corruption we use are totally legal, so I wasn't doing illegal activities. When I failed to bring them around, to get them to accept these loans, to get them to put their countries into servitude, then I knew that standing right behind me were what we call the jackals. And these are people who overthrow governments or assassinate their leaders. And both Jaime Roldos of Ecuador and Omar Torrijos of Panama were assassinated by CIA-sponsored jackals because I failed to corrupt them.
There is no cavalry, no man on a white horse coming to save you. If you value your freedoms, your inalienable rights, you must stand now. Those who bend to the will of a master will always be a slave, for it is better to die on your feet than to live a life on your knees. The window of opportunity is closing. Each generation has to face the same dilemma. You must stand and join with your fellow countrymen. Take back your nations, your freedoms and your rights, and restrain once more the rapacious ambitions of corporate fascism. Use that righteous anger, building within you wisely, for if you don't act now, you may never get another chance.
The issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak.
They took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is, will get attention this time. I'd say is, will get attention this time.
Is there something to worry about with medicines? That is, might some of them have side effects? Do we need safety testing? I mean, and we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.